So we got some big news coming to us via Fuji Rumors. Now, of course, this is a rumor site. That being said, Fuji Rumors are very reliable, at least in my opinion and from what I've seen in the past. And they say that the next camera that Fuji is going to announce is the Fujifilm XS20. Now, to me, this does make a whole lot of sense, especially considering all the different cameras that they released in 2022. You had the XH2S, the XH2, and the XT5. So that really covers the, I guess, $1,600 to $2,500 price range. So for them to bring out maybe a more budget-friendly camera next really makes a lot of sense to me. Now, I'm sorry about all the background noise. I am back in Vietnam, so I don't really have a dedicated studio here. So I'm out here on the roof, and there's a lot of car noise and everything like that. So I do apologize for the audio. Now, I plan on starting back my live streams coming up here very shortly, but they have been celebrating the Lunar New Year here, so that means the kids are off school and the internet has basically just been extremely slow because it's been very flooded. But this is a pretty big deal in my mind, at least to me, so I did want to get this information out. Now, they were a little bit light on the details. They did not know for sure when it's coming out. They just said it's going to be the next camera announced. They do think that April is a high likelihood because apparently there's going to be a X Summit in April. When it comes to specs, we really do not know much, but I do think we can kind of speculate based upon, well, the S10 as well as just kind of Fujifilm's history. Fujifilm's been very good about adding like 80% of a camera and offering in a budget-friendly, I guess, way. My first mirrorless camera was, or an interchangeable lens mirrorless camera, is the XT20, and this was followed up by the XT30. I kind of think that they are discontinuing this line in pursuit of the S10 or now the S20. But what they've done really well with this particular camera, besides just the amazing aesthetic and the fuzzy feeling I get when I hold it. Anyways, one of the amazing things that they really did with that camera, the XT20 as well as the XT30, is they were like 80% of the XT2 and the XT3 at the time, which was pretty awesome considering the value that that camera actually had and the budget-friendly nature of it. What I foresee with this camera is it kind of trying to do the same thing with the XH2S and the XH2, just kind of be more of a budget-friendly version of that. It's gonna have that fully articulating screen like its predecessor does, and I think it's gonna be kind of that budget-friendly hybrid camera. The original has a 26.1 megapixel sensor. It shoots 8 frames per second mechanical, as well as 23 frames per second electronic. It has 4K at up to 30 frames per second in 8-bit. And so I think we can kind of adjust those numbers slightly. I see it having basically the same sensor, or at least the same megapixel count as the sensor. I think it will have that faster processor in it, so if there's any kind of rolling shutter issues, they'll maybe kind of hammer some of that out. Maybe they'll bump up the speed of it slightly. Maybe it'll be at 10 frames per second and maybe even up to 25 frames per second electronic. Kind of just guessing here on the actual stills. Where I do feel like I can make a little bit more of an inference is actually in the video department. I can see them keeping it at that 4K 30. It'd be awesome if they book it up to 4K 60, but kind of doubt it in a budget $1,000-ish camera. But if they do keep it at the 4K 30, what I do think they will do is they will add 10-bit into this camera, as well as they're probably going to add all of the same different presets that they have. So they'll have the F-Log1 and the F-Log2. And the reason I think that they will actually do this, and the reason I'm kind of making this speculation, is because I think Fujifilm is really good at knowing their audience. And I think there's really going to be two types of people buying this camera. One will be basically the beginners, the people who are just getting started, but they want to get started maybe into Fujifilm. They like the aesthetic, they like the look, the colors, and to me, Fujifilm has a lot to offer. I think that really when it comes to the APS-C cameras, they're doing it probably better than anybody right now at this point. But the other group of people that I can foresee this being for is going to be for the people who maybe just want a secondary camera to go along with the XH2S or maybe the XH2 or even the XT5. And so maybe they're going to want a camera that is just like a secondary camera, but that they can match the colors really well. And that's why I think that them adding F-Log 1 and 2 will absolutely be a necessity for this camera, as well as adding 10-bit. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to do so. Now, as far as everything else, it's kind of hard to say. They may mess around with the ergonomics slightly. I'm definitely thinking that the autofocus is going to be, better than what the original was. I think it'll have kind of a lot of the same things that the XH2S and the XH2 have. Maybe it won't be quite as good, but let's hope so, because I know Fujifilm has really been working on their autofocus, so hopefully they won't kind of nerf that for a cheaper camera. That's something that I think should absolutely be there. But Vietnam is getting louder and louder, so I'm gonna go now. I just want to give that information. I'll try to start up the live streams again very shortly. If you've liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And until next time, peace.